intro so nice we did it twice. I accidentally left it on loop when I snuck that thing in there. So I apologize for hearing that twice, but welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. We got a nice, awesome episode lined up for you tonight. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Dubby Energy, Fanplex, Graphics, TSN Off Road, and also Dano Seasoning. They just came out with a new seasoning today, so be good to go check that out. I think it's a red pepper cheesin' flavor. So if you like some Texas barbecue, which I'm sure Imo likes some of that stuff down there pretty good. Sprinkle little Danos on that as one of our favorite presenting sponsors. But yeah, Imo's joining the show tonight. Current, technically, ODU player. Unfortunately, not active roster right now because of the health issue. And we'll get an update from you on that in just a minute. But also Zach Capps, our resident basketball expert. And how are we doing tonight, Zach?
Doing good. I mean, I still got that cough from that sickness I had a few weeks ago, but it's slowly going away. Nice.
Well, get on the mend and, continue to watch some basketball and keep us up to speed on everything going on there. But Imo, man, we really appreciate it. I know we reached out and tried to make this work at least one other time in the past, and probably a little bit busier time because I think it was like right after that holiday time period. But first of all, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. I'm happy I'm here. Happy to be here with y'all.
Absolutely. You did touch on the fact that you guys up there at ODU in Norfolk area got some snow. How much snow did you experience in Texas before you came up to Norfolk?
Man, to be honest, not very much. I've probably seen snow probably twice in my life before I came here to Norfolk. So this was I think my freshman year snowed just a little bit, not very much. And it's been on pause until now, my senior year, which was a complete shock to me. Like it was a lot to walk outside and see all that snow, but I like how they approach it out here. You know, they keep going with their lives. Where I'm from, if it snows, like everything's canceled, everything's on pause. So it's a little different for me, but I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, probably a little bit of that like military aspect to that Norfolk area, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
Were you in a part of Texas that was kind of heavy military as well, or is that kind of a different feel when you got up there?
Nah, I'm not actually. It's definitely a different feel. Like the military is huge. It has a huge influence on the community. Like you feel that. I mean, I don't really, pay too much attention to it, but you definitely can appreciate that the community is, super influenced by that.
Absolutely. Zach, you got a question for Imo here?
I mean, just getting like started, why'd you pick ODU over some of the other schools that maybe were recruiting you out of high school?
That's one of my favorite questions I get. So I actually, when I was first getting recruited, my first offer was from North Texas. That's when, if y'all recall, when ODU was still in the Conference USA with North Texas. So with them being my first offer, my father, went there. My aunt went there. My mother went to a school, all women's college down the street from there. I have cousins that went there. You name it. And then, throughout the process, I got more, offers from other universities in Texas. And then I had in my mind that I wanted to stay home. I wanted to stay in Texas, But to be honest, like once I start, going away for AAU tournaments more often, and I did it when I was younger as well. But when I got older and more in high school, doing that, for Nike tournaments, Under Armour tournaments, I got to see different parts of the country. And with that experience, I took away that like I needed to get out of Texas for a little bit. Whether that be come back when it's time to, when college basketball is over with. But I knew that for my college, my collegiate career, that it needed to be out of Texas. And that hit me probably around junior year. And then, after that, I was down to Montana State, North Texas, and Old Dominion. And, that coaching staff here was literally on me every day, calling my parents, reaching out to me every single day, reaching out to us every single day. And actually, because of COVID, I couldn't visit. So I took a leap of faith. I was actually the first virtual visit that they hosted. So all the coaches got on a golf cart and took me around the ODU campus. It was like an hour and 30-minute long FaceTime call, me and my parents and the coaches. And it felt like home, honestly. Even the current players were reaching out to me, talking to me, and it felt like the place that I needed to be. So super thankful, super, appreciative that I made that decision.
Yeah. You said you're not a big snow guy, but you said Montana State, if I heard you correctly. What was that? Was that just like the fact that they maybe reached out early, or what was it that maybe drew you, at least for some time, to think about Montana State as a possibility?
I think just the play style and the coaching staff. When you're getting recruited, you're getting recruited by people, right? And like your connection with those people would say a lot about the decision you make. You have some universities that reach out to you, and it may be you don't feel needed, right? Like from Montana State, I felt needed, so that's why they were in huge consideration. But ultimately, like, I didn't know much about Montana. I mean, I really didn't know much about Virginia as well, but I knew a little bit more about Virginia. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. Montana would be quite the haul for people to come see you play and everything else.
Right,
I mean,
right.
sure, Virginia's not all that easy from Texas either, but
Yeah.
probably slightly easier, at least because of that winter aspect, with basketball being such a winter sport.
Right.
Technically, you could drive if you really needed to. I'm sure that's
Mhm.
it. Did you drive when you went to school? Or did you fly up? Actually,
Absolutely not. I've never driven from Texas to Virginia, from Virginia to Texas. I will never do it. It's
smart
about
man.
20-hour drive. So I hop on that flight.
Nice. Very nice. How often do you get to go home then? I mean, whether it's season or not season, I mean, is this something you only get to do like twice a year, or are you getting to go home a little more often then?
So previously, right, when I was playing, I would go home right after the school. So if we were going on a schedule, right? So my calendar, right after the school year ended, in May, I would go home for about a couple weeks. I would come back for summer workouts, get in the routine, summer school, summer classes, all that. I would be here for a couple months, and I would go back home again. And when that last summer session ended around August for about 3 weeks, come back when school starts. So that's twice already. We would start the season. That's when I don't go home for a little while. Could go home for Christmas, depending. So that makes 3 times after the season, spring break, 4 times, and yeah, that's so probably about 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah, not too bad.
So you don't go home for like a long stretch over the summer. You staying up in Norfolk like pretty much throughout most of the year.
Depends what you call a long stretch. I mean, I'm used to it. So a long stretch for me is about 2.5 weeks. That's a lot of time at home for me. So
Yeah.
from my experiences. So but that 2.5 weeks go by fast though. So
Good point. How much I don't have all the calendars in front of me from your previous years of playing. How many times did you get to go down for a game against Texas State, and how far is that from home?
just once. Just once.
Just once?
My freshman year we were in Conference USA, so we didn't play them. But we were like I said, in there with North Texas. And that's about 50-minute drive from my hometown. So literally I had like 40, 50 people at that game my freshman year. Sophomore year played Texas State one time. Same, had about 30 people come out to that game. That's a little further. That's about three hours away from my hometown.
Okay.
Last year did not play Texas State at all. They didn't come to Norfolk either. And yeah, that's been it. And I think this year Texas State comes to us, so I won't be able to get out to Texas State. So for the most part, my mother, she tries to show up as much as she can. So my parents, they'll make a few games during the season, a few home games. But other than that, nah, it's really just just Monarch Nation rooting me on.
Nice. I like that. And definitely the Monarch is pushing you there too. Because I know
Absolutely.
they're extremely supportive across the board.
Absolutely.
Zach, you got another question? I don't want to go too long without you getting to ask something.
No, you're fine. I guess another thing, like, just what's your favorite thing about ODU? Just like whether that's like a certain like restaurant on campus or a certain like even just like a dorm hall, like whatever. Just like what's your favorite thing that you've experienced at ODU?
Man, that's a good question too. I would say for one, like, I mean, absolutely top of the list is Monarch Nation. I mean, this fan base is unbelievable. We've had, losing droughts. We've had extreme, winning streaks. We've had it all, injuries, you name it, man. And these fans show up day in, day out. And you really don't get a good appreciation for it until you go to other universities. Though no, not a knock to any people that we play or any teams that I've seen, but you look around and you expect so much energy and a big crowd, and it's just not the same as Monarch Nation. And truth be told, man, we lead the conference in fan attendance every single season. So, and that whether that be when we were in Conference USA to now the Sun Belt, the energy and the positivity that you get from these fans is truly incredible. For me, I know that I've gotten to a point where I not only want to win for myself, for my team, for my coaches, but I want to win for this community, and I know how much the basketball scene means to them. So I try to explain that to my current teammates now, guys, whether they are freshmen in there or they're transfers. I try to let them know, like, this is not your typical, this is not the average. So really appreciate this. So I would say absolutely our fan base, Monarch Nation. And then two, oh man, I would say I like campus too. I like campus. Campus, it's a neat setup. Uh, you're spaced out enough, but nothing's too far away. You have good food spots. You have I have my own gym that I could work out in, but if I were a regular student who wasn't on a team, we have a great workout facilities and all that. So I think campus is very, very neat, something to brag on as well. So absolutely.
Nice. I just saw a kid, I think, essentially not fall in, but he looked like he could have at any moment. There was some kind of pond or some kind of body of water close or on campus, and this kid was traversing it, and I think it was like an ODU bar stool or whatever. And I was like, this kid's going in. You know what I mean? You see the start of it, like, this kid's going in. And he made it all the way across. Give him full credit. He was careful. I have no idea which part of campus that was in, right? Because it's all snow covered at that moment. But
that's Monarch power for you, man. We got hidden talents.
Absolutely. Yeah, but like you said, definitely a shout out to Monarch Nation. Like you said, they are filling that gym up no matter what the outcome of the game is, no matter what the record is. And we've seen a couple other teams go to the tournament from the Sun Belt, and ODU still eclipses them in average attendance for the season, which is just insane, right? They always say, well, you have to win to get people to come. ODU fans don't seem – I mean, obviously they care, but ODU fans don't seem to wither from the fact that, like, oh, it's a rough stretch, but we're still here. It's absolutely phenomenal because you think about some of these teams down in the further south that are typically warmer during the winter. Like there's really no excuse not to go, right? I mean, why not? Norfolk's not all that warm. You know, it's not like it's easier in Norfolk to go to a basketball game when it's 20 degrees. You
Right,
know?
absolutely,
So,
yeah. And I think
absolutely.
it's super fun when you get to a point where you get a connection with those fans. Like I know exactly where this man's gonna sit every game. I know this lady's gonna come and greet me and during the warm ups. I know, like, if we get rowdy and they go on the dance cam, I can look up there. I know that they're gonna put the camera on this guy every game. So I think like that's something that you really you have to appreciate, because like think about an empty gym. You know what I mean? Like, what are we really doing if there aren't fans and there isn't a community and engaged with what we're doing? Like, I think that's incredible. And then I spoke about a man, a woman, this guy, but I mean the kids as well. Like, I know, and this is something that I learned a little later in my career. Like, I learned that, I have a direct influence amongst kids in the community that love Monarch basketball. And when you see those faces, man, and how lit up they are after a win, and I get to grab one or two of them and bring them back to the locker room and just show them, like, this is what we do. This is the vibes that Monarch basketball has, and this is our facilities, man. Like, seeing those faces is priceless. So, yeah, Monarch Nation, I don't have anything negative to say about.
Nice. Yeah, it would be hard to. So give us a status update. Obviously, unfortunately, you're not playing this season. Still heavily involved with the team. Luckily, still on scholarship. ODU did a great thing by keeping you that way. You're obviously helping the coaches out. I would assume you're attending every single game, whether it's road or home. So give us first of all, update on your health overall, and how the coaching aspect of your job is going this season.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you asking that. Health wise, man, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good. I'm blessed. Honored to still be a part of this program. There's been, without a doubt, ups and downs, and for me, like, I didn't want the downs to cloud all the ups, if that makes sense. And I know, like, that's how life works. A lot of people will um highlight the downs, man, but as everyone, or I don't know everyone, but as you guys know, I had a health scare my sophomore season. Sat out a little bit. Um, Saw pulmonologist, cardiologist, man, you name it. And I was doing better. Had prescriptions that I was taking and things like that, things of that nature. My junior season, preseason, actually had another scare in practice. Bounced back from that. Saw the different doctors again that I need to see. And I actually played the remainder of that season with no issues. Um, and then this senior season, pretty much the same story as my junior season. Preseason, I had been practicing, working out, training, lifting, you name it, all summer pretty much. In the beginning of school as well. Um, Collapsed for my third time, and when I came back, I wasn't feeling right. We had a scrimmage, and my chest was tight, was wheezing, could barely breathe, and one of my assistant coaches, he noticed it. He said, "You know what, man? I wanna take you out to eat, man. We could just sit and talk." You know what I mean? And that right there, man, like, that put everything in perspective for me, about, because like I told y'all, man, you get to a point where, like, this community means so much to you, and you want to win for them, not only yourself and your team and your coaches, but, like, you feel like you are a crucial part of this community, and what you bring is important. So I really had to sit down with myself and put that aside, right? And tell myself, like, you have to, you know, fix what you have going on first. Um, and these people love you, these people care about you, and they will support you in that. So super thankful and grateful for my assistant coach. sitting down with me, man, and listening to me, giving me wisdom and advice. Uh, and I'm a big believer in my faith. I think everything happens for a reason, absolutely. So, with that being my third time, it was just like um, a talk with myself, like, where do we go from here? Right? Like, you need to learn about yourself. You need to know things that you're passionate about, and avenues and pathways that you want to pursue after this. Um, and I talked to my parents, my coaches, my teammates, man, everyone involved, and everyone was so uplifting, um, kind, man, and for me, like, I wanted to be able to have the courage to overcome the situation, even though it was tough, to overcome the situation and find good out of it. Like, that's how I was raised, and that was huge for me. So I sat with my coach and I told him, like, you know what, I host a back to school basketball camp every summer, totally free for kids, and I'm passionate about helping others and providing for the youth and showing them examples. Um, and as I start, going through practice, not suiting up, not practicing, I noticed that, like, I had advice and I had knowledge and wisdom to share with my teammates. Maybe they're younger, older, doesn't matter. I've played a lot of college basketball, and I found joy in still being able to be around a team and help in that aspect. So currently, man, that's where I am now. Um, I'm actually enjoying this, as hard as it may be for people to understand. And I won't deny that it's tough. Like, we played, you know, our rival school, JMU, last game, and I'm looking like, man, I can't believe I'm not playing in this game. Sold out, you almost got a sold out crowd, Monarch Nation showing out. And I want to be there in the middle of all that, who wouldn't want to be, especially if you've done it before. But
Yeah.
ultimately, man, it's like I have a long life to live, a long, um, good life to live after basketball, and I'm glad that I've had people in my corner to, push me out of my comfort zone and really get me to see what else is in the future for me. So absolutely, man. So I'm currently, engaged, whether that be, I train some of the guys on the team, help them get shots up. I plan pregame routines for the guys, help out in practice, talk with the coaches about game planning. So I'm very much involved. So
Nice. Zach, you got a question here?
Yeah. So obviously, you guys got a new coaching staff this past off season, and I was just gonna ask, like, how has that transition been from the previous regime, who was there for a long time, to this new staff, and how have you, as somebody who's been there for multiple years, helped the coaching staff transition into Old Dominion? Just because, like, I know here at Coastal, Justin Gray, the new head coach, has said multiple times, like, senior point guard Henry Abraham has been essential to helping him, like, move into this school and get the feel of like, how the school's run and all that stuff. So how have you helped them transition?
um, so your first point, transitioning from a coach to a different coach, man, is always going to be tough, right? Like, this is the head of the this is the head of the train, um, to now jumping on another train with a different head of the train, and for me, like, my position requires me to always be on the same page as the head coach, right? Um, So for me, I wanted to learn as much as I could about the new coach. I wanted to know exactly what he was thinking, the offense he likes to run, the defense he likes to run, and the approaches I've noticed are the is the most that is different, right? Like, it's you have two incredible basketball minds, very respected by the basketball community, by their basketball peers, and you can't knock them what they've done and what they continue to do in basketball. So both of my Coach Jones, great coaches, right? And all the differences is the approaches, right? Like what you like to run, the things you like to do, the practices, how you like your practices ran, how you coach and relay information, and how you give criticism. That's the only difference. Um, so like once I understood that, like I understood, okay, like I know how to work with the new coach, right? And he was super encouraging of me, of my leadership, of me progressing and improving. Even now that I'm not playing, like he still, wants to talk with me and wants to know what I see on the court. So that's been great. As far as understanding, Monarch Nation and Norfolk and the Old Dominion and all of that, it hasn't been tough at all because you have to remember he actually played here at this university, as well as, his brother, his right hand man, Coach Odell Hodge. They were together here in the same uniform that I played in. So they understand what's at stake. Like they understand how much basketball influences this community. So that I appreciate, right? Like if it was someone else that didn't understand it like I did, I could see how that could be frustrating, right? But for someone who knows, like when that ball is in the air, being tipped off, um, like the energy that this community will feed off of, like that right there was self-explanatory. And you can hear them talk about, their stories when they once wore this jersey, and you talk about, how fun it was and the energy that the crowd had and what this community meant to them, and you truly understand it, right? Like you understand, like this is not just an experience that I have, but I have, two coaches that once played in the same jersey, once played in front of these same fans, and I also have, a brother of mine that is now on the coaching staff as well that I played with, Jason Wade. So now you have four guys that are at the head of your team that understand um, what that name in front of that jersey means. So that's huge, to be able to feed off that energy.
Nice. I probably run its course now. But how fun was it when you had the head coach coming in called Mike Jones, like the rapper, the whole thing? I know the monarchists and the fan base were having a lot of fun with it when it was first announced. I mean, did you guys get like at least a little kick out of it, or give him a hard time when you first came on board or something?
So, I'm not from the area, right? So a lot of things I'm not, I don't have the knowledge of. So when I first heard, the name, I'm like, y'all joking? like who's getting a job? Like who? And then no joke, I literally looked them up and I'm like, okay, like he's the real deal. You know what I'm saying? They're not joking.
Yeah.
But no, that it was definitely funny, man. It was definitely funny. It's grown on me now, so like I don't even think about it no more. But like at the time, like it was definitely funny to me, to my teammates that are from the area, not really because they've known him. He's from the area, but like for me, it was like who y'all say got the job? You know what I mean? Like I'm even looking at ESPN like it's not April 1st, is it? Like it's not. This ain't a joke, is it?
Yeah, you're like, hey, I know that guy's phone number by heart because I used to rap about it when I was singing the song with him.
Yeah.
I got to give, I like you said, at this point, you had to figure it's kind of run its course, but
Right,
needed to know if you guys had a little fun with that off the start.
Absolutely.
So you talked about the coaching aspect. You got a lot of jerseys behind you. You've played a lot of ball. Obviously, your first and foremost thing would probably be to continue playing as long as you can. But is there also now an aspect that you're like, man, I really enjoy this coaching. I might want to go this route sooner rather than later, or stick around at ODU for as long as they have me, or maybe look back in the Texas area for a coaching gig. Is that something you're thinking about now at this point?
Absolutely, yeah. But I wouldn't even say just the coaching aspect of it. Like for me, it's just expanding myself past being a basketball player, like whatever that looks like, right? And I think like this is the quickest and most efficient way that I could have done that. because it's literally like in my nature, right, is to be around the game of basketball. But like whatever it could have been, like I could have been introduced to accounting, and I really enjoyed doing that. And like for me, it's like, okay, I don't play basketball anymore necessarily, but I found that I really like accounting, right? Like it could be whatever it is. It's just knowing that a future after playing the game, I have different passions. I have other things that I need to, expand myself in. Like if I'm being honest, when I was growing up, if it wasn't about basketball, like I just didn't want to do it. If I'm being honest, like my parents would tell you, like if it wasn't about basketball, like Emo's probably not gonna want to do it. So like with that mindset, all the way up until you're 21, it's like once you find things outside of that, like it's definitely a joy. So I wouldn't just say the coaching aspect. I mean, that's something that like y'all can hear me talking about it. Like I genuinely do enjoy that part, training, all of that. But I think for me, just being able to, poke at different things, and learn about myself, more than just a basketball player. Like that's it. And I think like I've known, as much as you get ready to end your career, there's nothing like actually putting a stop to it. It's a life-changing decision. And sometimes it's not a decision for a lot of people. It's a must. So I think like, it's one of those things where we wish we could play basketball until we're 70 years old, but that's not the reality of it. And I know guys who reach later times in their lives, later 20s, sometimes after 30s, where they finally quit playing and they're literally lost and they don't know what to do next. And I'm grateful that I won't be in that position now that I've had to go through this.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Want to get to one of Ben James's questions, because it's a good one, but also it's going to lead me to another one. He wants to know what you thought of the Red Wolves and Mountaineers last night. But that's going to lead me to a question that's bigger than that too. Do you guys watch a lot of the games? Obviously, you watch the film. Do you watch like these games just because, I don't know, you don't have much going on that night or something? The team gets together to watch, other Sunbelt teams when they're on national TV, or is that not really something you're doing because you're watching them on film in the background later anyway?
Nah, I would feel like I would feel like a fan if I was watching those guys. Nah, I couldn't do it. But we do watch a ton of film, so like at some point in time, like that information, that footage is gonna get to us. We're gonna know what we need to know preparing for games. But nah, I don't want to watch them.
I had a feeling, you guys do enough basketball prep and playing and practicing that you're like, if we're not playing at 9 o'clock,
Right.
I'm not really interested in checking it out.
Right.
A couple things have changed since you've really come into college basketball too. You've got now a bigger transfer portal, NIL, a collective aspect. Is there middle intricacies or maybe big changes that you've seen personally that, obviously we've seen our conference get kind of picked apart with some of the better talent kind of being pulled up, which is great for them, good for their families, hopefully still good for their development. But, other than those type of things that are a little bit more obvious, are you seeing like little things that you're noticing that really are different from when you came in?
To be honest, man, like I'm so head down, workaholic, man. I don't even pay attention to all that stuff. Like I take it game by game. I prepare for my opponent. And I'm not even playing now, and I still do it the same way as the guys that are. Whoever they put in front of me is who I got to guard and try to score against. It's that simple to me. I show up to work, man. That's it.
Nice. I like that. I like that perspective. Zach, you got questions here?
Yeah. So you guys, obviously, with the transfer portal, NIL, you guys got a lot of new players this year. Who's maybe one guy that kind of like surprised you a little bit? Maybe like the very first day of practice, you were like, oh, maybe this guy isn't going to be as big a part of the team as maybe I think. And now he's like jumping out as like, this guy's been great for us this year.
It's a great question. Oh man, let me think about that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna twist your question up a little bit, right? So I wouldn't say they surprised me, because I didn't know that they would be a huge part of the team's success. I would say they surprised me just because they would surprise anybody. Like Stephon Walker, I mean, like his intensity, um, like he's a type guy, like you don't need to run any plays for him. But he'll have 15 points. Like, you know what I mean? He's gonna have 10 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 15 points. And you look at the stat sheet like dang, like I didn't even know he had all that. You know what I mean? And he's the type of guy like, you can appreciate because you love to play with him, but hate to play against him. And basketball is one of those things where you get highlighted by the shots you make. You get highlighted by the big block, the fancy assist, the super speed and the quick handles. But not saying he doesn't have those things. Not saying that, but he appreciates what it really takes to win. You know what I mean? Like the dirty work and getting your hands dirty, putting your body on the line for your teammates. Like I I will forever appreciate that about basketball. And as much as some of that stuff is leaving the game, um, still finding people like Steph Walker, like it's fun to be around, because it tells you right off the bat, like he wants to win, like he cares about winning. And to be honest, that's the reason why I do this. Like if I had to play basketball, but every game was a tie, I wouldn't play. So I play to win. That's the only reason why I play. I do love playing basketball, but I want to win. So if I know I got him on my team, I feel better about winning.
Nice. Great answer. I like that one. Something that's a little bit more under the radar there. You led the team in free throw percentage last season. So are you focusing on these guys and getting them right at the free throw stripe?
You know what? Since you said that, I'm about to. Because now I feel like I'm not doing enough. Because I didn't even know I led the team in free throw percentage last year. I didn't even know what I shoot. Do you know?
86.4%.
I'll pat myself on the back real quick, man.
There you go.
On the back. I really want to shoot 90, but 86, that ain't too bad. You know what? I'm gonna put that in my notes. I'm gonna bring that up tomorrow. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell Coach. I'm gonna say, Coach, hey, I was on this podcast, right? And they brought up my free throw percentage, and I think like I should be in charge of the free throw shooting from now on. Like, I'm gonna bring that up.
Say we gave you the hard numbers to back it up. There can be no question. Zach, you got any more questions? I got one more that I really want to know an answer to. It's a softball one probably, but Zach, I want to give you an opportunity if you got anything burning that you want to ask.
Yeah, first, don't talk to your coach until after tomorrow because big game tomorrow. So
yeah, you right.
Just wait.
You right.
But
I'm gonna be so locked in, I'll probably forget to ask.
So you guys kind of got off to a rough start this season, but conference play started and you guys are starting to roll a little bit. I know last few games haven't been as special as the start, especially, but what have you seen like growth wise in the team this year?
Just maturity. Like it's something you can't get around, right? This is one of the younger teams I've actually been a part of in my collegiate career. In the maturity aspect of, like every day putting your head down and working and becoming better individually and as a team, like that's ultimately what matters, right? And to me, right, I've had a high school coach who used to tell me, Coach May, he used to tell me, search for the perfect game, right? And I actually incorporate that in my life, right? Like, if no game is ever going to be perfect, right? We know that, right? No game is ever going to be perfect. It's going to be missed shot, missed free throw, turnover, a missed assignment, whatever. But search for the perfect one. If you're continuing to search for the perfect game, you're going to fall a little short and you're going to get better every time. And I think these guys, like, they're realizing how tough it really is to win at this level that we play at. And the maturity, like, that I've seen step up game after game after game, whether it's a win or a loss, like that's something you can build off of. And these guys, they're receptive to criticism. They want to learn, they want to get better, they want to win, they want to play together. They're happy for each other. Whether it's accolades or statistics, they cheer each other on. And I think like that right there is the piece. Like that right there is something that you can grasp and really take off with. So I would say absolutely the maturity part from the beginning as a team to where we are now. Um, a long way to go still, right? Like this is, we're nowhere near our peak. And we don't want to be at this point, right? We want to be, we don't want to start playing our best basketball until, late February, honestly, in March, right? So I would say the maturity, most definitely.
Nice. Well, so this is a good segue into my question. You don't necessarily want to play your best basketball right now. So my last question for you is the bracket for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Everybody makes it. Doesn't matter where you end up in the season. So everyone's got equal shot. I do the air quotes there for a reason because it's all a hell of a climb from the bottom to the top in that one. But, you could go on a run there. Obviously, it's too early to even say you're going to be anywhere near the bottom. You could be up towards the top. But we've seen you guys already up there with ODU already. But just as a basis, whether it's ODU or somebody else, what do you think of the setup of the tournament? Do you like it? Do you think it's, an impossible climb for someone to kind of go 7 straight games in 7 days to win a championship and get an NCAA tournament bid? Or what are your general thoughts on that?
Let me ask you a question real quick, right?
Yeah.
What's my job?
To win games.
That's it. I don't care what they set up. If they have 100 games for me to get to the championship, then my job is to win 100 games. I don't care what type of setup it is. My job is to win. If I ain't win, I ain't do my job. If somebody else won, he did his job. That's it. That's it. The bracket set up how the bracket set up. Whoever did that, that's way above my pay grade. My job is to win. He got his own job. He did his job. He set the bracket up. I got to do my job.
They did a great job because they've brought a lot of people in and going, what is this thing? This is crazy. I obviously, without knowing any seeds at this point, I kind of want to see whoever it is from the bottom go at least a long way just because it builds excitement.
Right.
One thing that I think is an interesting aspect to it is, and we've seen this before, some teams that sit a little too long without playing, and you're hitting a hot team. They've been playing a couple games in a row. They're shooting good. It doesn't always last, right? Sometimes that luck runs out, but you get the right momentum and you take a team down that is a clear favorite coming in because you've just been playing and gelling better at the right time, and they've been sitting cold. So that's kind of an interesting aspect to me. Is like, yeah, it's not going to favor the team that's playing 5 games in 5 days, but they might be hot. You got a team that hasn't played in almost a week at that point or whatnot.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's pros and cons to it, right? Like, as much as we can say, this team, they've been rolling, playing a few more games in a short span of time, and they got a better feel for other guys who've been stale, sitting down. But you can make the same point that those guys been busting their butt, playing hard. They're tired coming into this game, right? So it's pros and cons to both.
Nice. You like going down there for that tournament? Is that kind of a nice area? I've honestly never experienced it, so I don't know much about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say though, Conference USA, we did play right in my backyard in Frisco, Texas. So, I mean, that's tough to beat. I got my entire family at that tournament my freshman year. But scenery wise, absolutely, it ain't really too nice in Texas like that. It ain't scenery like it is in Pensacola. So,
gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'm hoping to get down there at some point. I don't know if it'll be this year or not, but Zach, you ever been down there?
Not for the tournament, no. But I've been to Pensacola before.
Oh, okay. There you go. I've never even gone down for the non-tournament aspects, so I don't know anything about Pensacola. I've heard nice things too, just like you guys are saying, but I have not been down there myself. Zach, any last questions or anything?
No. I mean, I would say good luck tomorrow. Good luck on the rest of the season.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
We really, really appreciate you jumping on, making your time and effort. I'm glad to get to know you a little bit more. I'd love to hear you talk and tell us everything that we didn't know previously, right, man? So getting to know a little bit introspective on your life and how things are going, and happy to see you happy and healthy, man, and having a great time, whether it's on or off the court. It seems like you're in the place you need to be, and hopefully that can continue. So yeah, man, really appreciate it. And we'll certainly look to have you on again if you're open to it.
Absolutely, man. I had a good time. I appreciate y'all having me a part of this.
Thanks, man. We'll see you.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. Now that was a fun time, man. I'm glad we got him to jump on. I saw that unfortunately he wasn't going to be playing this season before it started, but shortly before it started. So I'm glad to see him doing well and doing with the coaching aspect, man. So I'm glad to see that. Now we will go a little quicker because we wanted to focus on that interview. If we get other players, Zach's in touch with some as well, we will do that as many times as we can get somebody on. Because Zach, we have to be honest with ourselves. Those guys are a little bit more entertaining than us, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more fun than just us sitting here talking about some scores, some box scores and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so because of that, we will also rifle through this a little bit faster tonight. But obviously the title of this show was Round Ball Roundup Red Wolves Show Out, as they showed out on national TV on ESPN2 last night. So we'll start off with the standings, man. We still have South Alabama at the top, sitting up there at 6-1. Red Wolves got that victory last night. They're up there in second place at 6-2. A little uneven, I guess. There's there's two matchups on Monday this week to kind of make up for some of those ones that had gotten missed with the weather aspects of last week. It was an important tilt last night too, right? Because now you have the Red Wolves just above App State in the standings there because of that game. So that was a big time tilt on ESPN2. And I know we were shooting some messages back and forth. What do you think of that one overall?
I mean, yeah, if you look at the score and the box score in general, might not be impressed, but I thought maybe it was just the fact that it was on ESPN2 and national television, high level broadcast, high level production, all that stuff. It felt like a big game. The atmosphere was great. Just everything about it. It felt like a really big game last night.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely did. Getting to tell people, hey, the Sun Belt's on national TV. People are like, oh, who's playing? So interest and intrigue, and these are some people that didn't even know, that game was going to be on. So it's a big deal when our guys get on there on national TV. So Ben James chiming in saying last night was the largest crowd at First National Bank Arena in 8 years and largest in Hodgkin era. So over 6,200 in attendance at that one. So that's a great showing. We just had Imo on it, and ODU does that almost every game. If you want to put in perspective why he said Monarch Nation means so much to him and that team, because they are doing that routinely. And you can see, ODU's over here on the right side of this, only 4-4 in the conference, 8-12 overall. They're still filling that arena with about 6,000 or 7,000 or 8,000 people routinely. So absolutely phenomenal job by the Monarch fans and their players for bringing it, because they were up at the top of the standings just before. Well, I don't know. When I had to move them down in these standings, I think, what were they, third or fourth after 3 games ago, roughly?
ODU?
Yeah, weren't they up that high?
Yeah, I believe they might have been like second, or I think
That's
they were
right.
Maybe even first at one point, early on in the conference.
True. You're right. I think they were first, actually.
After 2 or 3 games. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy to think about. I mean, it really goes to show how important these stretches of games are, and we'll get into a little bit of them specifically. As mentioned, South Alabama, followed by Arkansas State, App State, Marshall, Texas State, all tied at 5-3 within the conference. Troy sitting at 4-3 by themselves. Georgia Southern, JMU, ODU, Louisiana, all tied at 4-4. Southern Miss 3-4, Georgia State 3-5. Coastal Carolina sits at 1-7. ULM, unfortunately for them, still winless within the conference. All these teams up top at this point, I mean, you kind of expect this to kind of filter a little bit more, but mostly stay the same, besides a couple spots here and there.
Yeah, probably. Especially, I think the top 3 at least at this point. Those top 3 have proven that those are probably the cream of the crop in the Sun Belt.
I agree. I think right now, a little bit consistency, like you said, that game last night wasn't necessarily going to light up a scoreboard or light up people's thought processes on how good these teams are when you see that final score both below 60 points. Right? No. Well, Arkansas State exceeded 65 or right at 65. So, but not a high scoring game, but that just goes to show some of the defense in this. We won't spend too much time on the standings. Like I said, we're trying to kind of get caught up, but South Alabama only played 2 games last week. They beat Southern Miss 75-62, and they also take care of Troy in a very tightly contested one, 64-63. That obviously puts them on a 2-game win streak. Shocker. I don't know. I got Dunning Jr. really standing out for them in these 2 games, going for both 12 points and then 14 points in the second matchup there against Troy. Anything specific you want to note for South Alabama?
No, Miles Corey is kind of taken a dip a little bit, but it hasn't done anything to their team success. They're still rolling, and at this point they're real, because I know at the beginning of the season a lot of people kind of had second thoughts about them, and then even early on in the conference there was probably still some people maybe this is just like a little fluke, and it's not. They're for real. Yeah.
So 2 of those people are on the screen now. We weren't necessarily believers in the Jags, but yeah, I'm with you. I absolutely believe in them at this point. I don't know what we didn't see. I don't know what we missed, but this team is gelling and playing great basketball, and all the credit to them, because they're looking impressive so far on the hardwoods. Another team obviously looking impressive, Arkansas State. We just mentioned them. A current 3-game win streak that you see on screen, but 4 games overall that they've put together without losing. Kobe Julian, obviously a name out there, but Pinion came on and surprised me. I just really hadn't focused on him enough with the amount of talent they've got on that roster. Is he somebody that's kind of jumped out to you a little bit more here recently?
Yeah, but he is a big time recruit to Arkansas and showed flashes at Arkansas. So maybe it took a little bit longer maybe for him to settle in. And then I know he had a couple of good games in the non-con, but yeah, he's been good lately.
Yeah, he's up there with top point getters over the last 3 games, going for 13, 14, and 14 again. And a couple of those big 3-pointers in that nationally televised game meant a lot to the Red Wolves in that one. So A++ for what they've been able to do. App State goes just 2-1 since the last time we checked in on them. But again, that one lone loss comes to Arkansas State that we talked about last night. But they did get by ODU rather easily, and they got by JMU 58-50 in that one. Is that the right score? I feel like that was a bigger gap than that.
No, it was 58-50 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm maybe thinking about something else. Huntley, obviously, a massive standout here. Had 2 games where he exceeded 20 points all by himself. Anybody else you want to mention or things you want to talk about where the Mountaineers are concerned?
I know another guy he was good last night, I thought, was Miles Tate. Not just scoring, but just in a lot of other areas. And then Jaleel Bobrun was awesome last night, especially in that first half. Him and Kobe Julian, it was back and forth between those 2. So those are 2 guys that I think we all expected to be the top guys this year, but they're proving it.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the physicality of Bobrun, because I don't feel like, they had the big guy last year who was the big shot blocker, of course, but I don't feel like they had the physicality that Bobrun can bring. He's not uber consistent just yet, I'd say. There's stretches where I feel like he's a little less noticeable, but when he is noticeable, watch out. He slammed that one home last night. It's pretty impressive. Huntley had that big slam too, that big putback. A little bit more when the game was out. Yeah, that one-handed thing. I don't know how many other people could have jumped that high, so that was an impressive slam back. But unfortunately, they did not get the victory for Mountaineer fans. But still, again, 2-1 overall over their last 3 games, so not too bad. Marshall on a hot streak here, 2-1 in their last 3 games as well, and the last 2 are the 2 that they've won. So I don't know. I got Spears sticking out to me, 2 points over 20 two games over 20 points apiece. Anochili Killen had a big one. I got the name Dawson coming up here. Mingo. What something specific you've seen that sparking Marshall to go on a little bit of a run here, or is it just kind of playing Coastal and Georgia State that's a big part of that?
Yeah, Anochili Killen almost had a triple-double last night with 9 blocks. I think he had 20-something points, 10 rebounds, 9 blocks against Georgia State, which is absurd. But yeah, seeing him at least against Coastal, I don't think it's just playing Coastal and Georgia State. I mean, their chemistry is really good right now. So that's something that I noticed. And then I thought, and their 2 guards are really starting to take off. Spear and Mingo have been really good for them lately.
Yeah, Spear definitely is the guy that I was kind of pinpointing the most. But like you said, Anochili Killen is just he's got a couple games where he's really taken over everywhere, not just on the scoreboard itself, but on the stat sheet overall. So, yeah, maybe this team's heating up, and maybe they'll stay up there in that. I think what are they in that 4th position right now? Texas State's trying to put some pressure on them from behind, so we'll jump over to them next. They've gone 3-0 over their past 3 games. They snuck by Southern Miss in that second one, 85-82 in overtime, but they beat Georgia State 94-80 before that, and they took out the Cajuns after that, 89-74. Anybody sticking out for you here? Because I know I got a name. It's pretty obvious though.
Tylen Pope.
Yep.
And then, but it's a testament to how good Tylen Pope has been. But the Southern Miss game, they were without Gums and Drone, their 2 leading scorers, or not their 2 leading scorers, but Drone was their leading scorer, and then Gums is. I saw them at the Myrtle Beach Invitational, and Gums is like their whole offense runs through him, penetrating, kicking the ball out, him getting others involved. That whole offense is through him. So getting it done without him, and then he came off the bench against Louisiana and still getting it done. So somebody had to step up, and it was Tylen Pope.
Yeah, 20, 28, 25 in those 3 games point wise. So that's just one aspect of his game too. I do want to give a shout out to Benson. Goes for 18 and then 23 in that second game. A little bit less in that third one there against the Cajuns, but O'Garo picked up the pace and put 17 in there on the board. And we've seen his name pop up a couple times throughout the season as well. So yeah, Texas State on a heater. We'll see if they can continue it, and we will get into those weekend matchups here shortly. Troy just plays 2 games. Again, a little bit of the weather down there that they're not so used to. Just goes 1-1 in those 2 games. Obviously getting by ULM 77-58 pretty easily. And then that 1-point loss, and that's got to hurt, right? That's South versus Troy. They don't like each other. Big rivalry there, 1-point loss. Anything of concern or any aspect of the Trojans you want to point to over these past 2?
No, I haven't seen much of. I haven't watched much of them, especially lately. Saw Connerway starting to step up a little bit, but and Rigsby's been out, so.
Yeah, noticeable.
Yeah, that's a big miss. So we'll see if down this final stretch here they can get everyone healthy and get going again.
Yeah. Shout out to Dowd though. He's got not necessarily the top leading scorer. He hasn't been in these past 2 games, but he's been pretty consistent, going for 13 and 8. And then you obviously, like you said, had Connerway go for 23 in that game against Troy, even though it wasn't quite enough to get that victory in that one. But we'll see if the Trojans can put it back on the right track again, going after another 20-win season, which would be a big deal for them. Georgia Southern, surprising 3-0 on their last 3 games. Douglas being a big standout, and Banks, another name I'm seeing quite a bit, and Holloman even as well. Those 3 guys putting it all together. 1-point victory in overtime against Coastal Carolina. Was that a game that was at Coastal, or was that at?
Yep, it was at Coastal. Georgia Southern was up 7 with 43 seconds left in the game. Coastal came back and went to overtime. That was a crazy game.
Sounds like it, man. I'm guessing you were in attendance for that one.
Yeah, I was there.
Nice. Well, maybe not nice in the end, but probably awesome for when they're springing.
At least it was a good game.
Yeah, exactly. At least extremely entertaining. They had another close one there against Imo's team that we just had him on, 67-63 over the Monarchs. And then they did the flip the score thing to us. They beat Coastal in that second game, 85-58. That's just a weird game, right? Like, what was that? A 1 p.m. tip off on that? Like, was it Wednesday? Was that was a Wednesday?
Thursday.
Game, right?
Thursday.
No,
it got
Thursday.
It got moved to Thursday. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it was just
that was rough.
It was weird. Like, I mean, wasn't much of a crowd. It was at 1 p.m. after a big snowstorm. Neither team scored for like the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game. It was just like a weird feeling game.
Yeah. I turned it on while I was at work and I couldn't really listen. But I was checking in on it every once in a while and I'm like, this has got to be tough on those kids. Like, if it's early season and there's not a lot of people in attendance, maybe you kind of expect that, or you see something that lets you know that that's going to be the way it is. But a game out of the normal.
Yeah, they're preparing for like a 7 o'clock game, and
yes. Yeah, it's just kind of a weird feel. It just didn't feel right playing a game at that time of day on a weekday when you don't normally do it, right? Like during tournament time when those kinds of things happen, it's a little different.
They're preparing for a 7 o'clock game, and then a few hours before the game, it gets postponed to the next day in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
just kids are in class and they're probably usually in class doing homework or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Just weird. Very strange. Very strange. Well, luckily for them, that's not supposed to happen anymore the rest of the season. So hopefully we can all avoid that strange starting time. James Madison 2-1 over their last 3 games here, beating Marshall by 3, 67-64. They lose to App State 58-50, as we've touched on. And then they got the important Royal Rivalry win, as they call it, between the Dukes and the Monarchs, 74-60 over ODU. Some standouts or anybody you want to pinpoint for the Dukes over their last 3?
I've noticed, maybe not he isn't jumping off the stat sheet, but Justin Taylor's starting to get a little bit more run. He started the season as a starter and was getting big minutes, and then there was a couple games where he was just DNPing, just he wasn't good, and that he's starting to find his way back into the rotation.
Nice. Yeah, the one thing that stood out to me is there's not one guy that's consistently leading the team. You've got Brown, Lindsay, and Smith all leading the team in points over those 3 games, and the guys right behind them aren't the same either. You got Hutch and Everett in one game, Freeman in the next, and then Freeman finally shows up in that last game, being the second leading scorer again. So it looks like they're kind of, like you said, kind of maybe more evenly distributing the ball, gelling a little bit better as a team. I mean, that game against App State, we've seen that they've been a pretty good team. Only lose by 8. They get another shot at them here pretty soon. So we'll see what happens in that one. But yeah, touching on the fact that the Dukes are 2-1, but still find themselves in the middle of the conference at this point, which is a little bit of a surprise for what we thought they may be capable of. All right, Emo's team here. App State took them down rather easily in that first game, and they go 0-3 in all of these, unfortunately for them. App State wins 62-43. Georgia Southern takes them out 67-63. And again, we just touched on this one and the last one, and that's why they're 1 spot difference in the standings. JMU takes them down 74-60. Anything or anybody you want to talk about for the Monarchs?
I feel like it was the same as we talked about last time. Robert Davis has been big for them. I know he's shooting a ton of shots, but he's been big. Emo talked about Steph Walker being big in other ways, maybe not just scoring. And then Swanton Roger has been solid the last few games. So there's some guys that I've noticed.
Yeah, and Durr Gordon still getting it done as well, kind of that second leading scorer behind Davis Jr. They've been really consistent as 1 and 2 across the top scorers for the games over the past 3 days, or over the past 3 games, I guess I should say. But unfortunately, just not getting it done in a couple of those games there. We'll see if they can turn it around heading into the weekend action. The Cajuns of Louisiana going 1 and 2 over their last 3, 20-point loss to the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. They get a little bit of retribution by taking down their hated rival. I don't know if that's rival is the right word. They always say it's not much of a rivalry, but it's still 2 Louisiana teams going head-to-head, so I'm going to call it that. Cajuns take down the Warhawks 65-60, and then Texas State takes down the Cajuns 89-74. Anything to highlight here for the Cajuns as they're they like to flip-flop back and forth a lot, right? Like not a great start, went on a little bit of a heater, kind of went on a little losing streak. Now they're back up to a little bit more respectable look here.
Yeah. I haven't really watched much of them. I did notice that they're changing up the rotations a little bit. They've gone smaller and they're pretty much running like 4 guards and a forward, which is interesting to see. We know Hosanna's been down for the year, but yeah, not really much to say on them. I haven't paid attention to much.
Yeah, looks like Mustafa, as the lone big on the court, like you said, as that one forward there, has been the leading scorer, leading rebounder for the most part. Garnett's been playing pretty well, so we'll see if they can kind of continue to round back into form and kind of get back into those winning ways as they struggled over that last 3 games there to come up with the winning record. Southern Miss only played 2, didn't win either of them, losing to South Alabama 75-62, and in overtime to Texas State, as we talked about, 85-82. I don't know, man. Harris still pretty consistent.
John Wade came back after that the legal issues with the NCAA. Him and the NCAA came to a compromise, and he made his debut against Texas State. So
nice. Okay. That's a good note to make because I know you did touch on that and we're interested in what was going to happen and transpire in that regard. So, that was a heck of a – did you get to watch any of that one that went to overtime?
I think I watched the end of it because I don't remember – one of the teams were like up like a good score. Like it was like a good amount of a lead, and then the other team came back and went to OT. I would have to look which team was up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess my only notes really was Harris has kind of been more consistent. Corbello stood out a little bit. Alvarez.
Yeah, Corbello. I thought Corbello's been a little better lately.
Yeah, and obviously he's had some off the bench struggles with other things going on as well. So we'll have to see if he continues to round out my preseason player of the year. Not looking so great for that aspect at this point, but still a great player. There's nothing I'm not taking away from that. But there's going to be other guys that have been a lot more consistent across the board thus far to get that look. Did you see which team was up in that one?
No, ESPN. ESPN's being super slow for me right now.
Okay. Well, if you get it, you can touch back on and move over to Georgia State. 0-3 over their last 3 games, so not great in that aspect. Texas State 94-80, Arkansas State 85-59. Got shellacked in that one pretty good. Obviously, a very good Red Wolves team, but you hope to play a little bit better. And then Marshall gets 92 on them. They go for just 79 points in that one. Edwards being really their most consistent player over those 3 games, going for 27, 15, and 21. Anything else to point to for the Panthers of Georgia State right now?
I'll give a shout out to their fans because lately, the last few years, we know it's been rough for them. They haven't been good, and even this year they've been really bad. And then, especially in that Marshall game, the fans are still showing out more than I've ever seen since I've started watching Sunbelt basketball, which is interesting. So especially, and then the students have been packing that place out. So shout out to them.
Nice. Yeah, they got that nice new arena down there. It's
beautiful.
Got to be an aspect of it that's good. I'd like to check that one out for sure. So we'll have to see if I can get down to that Atlanta area. It's only like a 6-hour drive for me, so not right around the corner, unfortunately.
That's a little long for me.
Yeah. Well, one that is right around the corner for you. Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, unfortunately, just like the Georgia State Panthers, 0-3 over their last 3 games. That overtime loss to Georgia Southern, the 77-64 loss to Marshall, and that 85-58 score flip between Georgia Southern again. I mean, I guess at this point you're going to be glad not to see Georgia Southern anymore this year, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Based off those scores. I mean, maybe you never know. Might see them again eventually, but
That's true. That's a good point. You never know what's going to transpire now with the craziness of the Sun Belt Conference tournament. But anything to talk about for your local team there?
I think Jordan Battle's been really good for us lately. And another thing, we can't afford to miss a player. Like before the season started, a guy that a lot of people thought was going to be a big piece for this team gets kicked off the team. And then McVicker, who was good for us last year as a freshman. A lot of people thought was going to be a starter. He's redshirting. D.A. Houston is a captain, was projected starter. He hasn't played all year. I think if I had to guess right now, he's probably redshirting, but I don't have confirmation on that. So you're down to 9 scholarship guys, I think. No, 10. 10 scholarship guys, and 3 of those are centers. So one of those, and all 3 of them are true centers. They're not like stretch bigs. They're true back to the basket centers. So, yeah, I mean, Mulabea's missed a few games, and all the games he's missed, we've been blown out. So we can't afford to have another guy to go down, especially a non-center.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you got to have at least one big. I feel like even if it is a stretch power forward that you're throwing in back there, you got to have somebody to slow.
He's redshirting.
Yeah. So we'll see if Coastal can get a little bit more consistency on that healthy player aspect. The Warhawks of ULM are going to round us out, only playing 2 games, 0-2. Not a surprise as they've lost their last 9 straight games, unfortunately, for the Warhawks. Looks like Bolden, Wilson, Young, Watson are the guys that have kind of come up, but
just the normal.
You've got the normal names. You've got, unfortunately, a lot of these other teams have a couple players every once in a while at least going for over 20 points, and that's not really where the Warhawks are getting to. And I think that when your depth players aren't getting much off the bench either, you've got to have some superstars getting you 20 points a little bit more regularly. It's obviously not going to have to happen every game. But
I also wish – I mean, it's Rashard's last year, but I wish – and you're this bad – I wish they would just play some of the younger guys more.
Yeah,
just to see what they can do, and maybe you convince them to stay by giving them minutes, even though obviously it's going to be new staff, well, at least a new head coach. But I wish they'd go a little bit deeper in the bench and play some of these young guys. Like, you got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'd like to see the youth movement too, especially like you said. At this point, the season's lost as far as a great finish.
I mean, you might as well try something new.
Yes. And obviously that hire is going to be huge going into next year. They had a great hire at the football aspect with Coach Vincent taking over and doing what he did in his very first year at ULM. Yeah, just missed out on a bowl game, but, I mean, well exceeded the overall wins mark for what a lot of people had thought. Crushed the Vegas odds.
Yeah, wasn't there over under 1.5 or something?
Yeah, it was 1.5. So they beat that after their second game. So props to them. Hopefully that type of turnaround can happen for the basketball program. And maybe the Cajun fans don't feel the same way, but most of the rest of us are looking for ULM to improve at least a little bit and be a little bit more.
They want everyone. When the floor is raised, that's when these conferences are the best, or just sports in general is when the floor is raised, not necessarily the ceiling. I mean, obviously you want the ceiling to be raised too, but the floor, like conference or the league, is what you want to see the most for growth.
Absolutely. And like Michael Jordan famously said, the ceiling is the roof. To this day, I still can't believe he ever fumbled over his words. That I fumble over my words. Hopefully I never sound quite that.
Especially in front of that many people.
Yeah. I mean, somebody who never speaks in front of large groups of people, I could see it better.
I mean, but he's Michael Jordan. He's one of the most famous people in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Still a great quotable thing to say, though. A lot of fun to have with that one. We got a couple interesting matchups. We also obviously have some ones that aren't as great. That first one there, technically there's 3 that start at 3 Eastern, 2 Central time on ESPN Plus. All games on ESPN Plus this Saturday. App versus ULM. I don't know if I expect much of a contest, right? I mean, App just got beat by the Red Wolves on national TV. I'm assuming they're going to come out a little pissed off and take a little revenge back on the Warhawks, even though the Warhawks are playing at home. I mean, I don't know, is it any kind of trap game to you type of thing, Zach, or you think this one's a App game pretty easily?
No, I expect guys like Huntley and Tate to keep playing well and them to get out of there with a comfortable win.
Don't disagree at all. Marshall and Georgia Southern, same tip-off time, ESPN Plus as well. I don't know. I don't know what I expect out of this one, right? We just talked about Georgia Southern being 3-0 in their last three, Marshall being 2-1. So this one probably a little bit hotter of a matchup than I would have thought, a couple days ago.
Yeah, two teams that came to Coastal last week, so I got to see both of them. And really good guard play by both teams, so that should be fun in the backcourt.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one that I'll be keeping an eye on. Hopefully my team in App State is rolling against the Warhawks and I can check out these other two games, because those two ones I have a little bit more interest with, because that last game there on the screen as we see it, but still at that same time frame, is Texas State versus Arkansas State. We've got number 2 in the conference going up against number 5 currently in the conference. But again, two hot teams, both 3-0 over their last 3, and A-State 4-0 over their last 4 overall. Going back a little further than that last week. Is this the matchup of the weekend?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe South Alabama Troy is a sneaky good one.
That's a good point.
But yeah, Texas State probably the hottest team in the conference right now. Even without two big pieces for them, they're still rolling. And then Arkansas State is presumed favorite of the league still, even though they're second, most talented team in the league. So that one should be a fun one.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what to expect out of this JMU Georgia State game. Before the season, I would have probably expected a relatively easy Duke's win. But I've seen some stretches where Georgia State can look pretty good. Obviously not great over their last 3 games, or JMU's kind of improving over that. So I would favor the Dukes. Is there anything you think may surprise us and Georgia State stands a better chance in this one, or you agreeing with the Dukes?
I believe Georgia State's at home, right?
Yes,
yeah,
that's correct.
So, yeah, I think this one be a good one. If the environment is like it's been the last few games, that should make it better. And then, yeah, I know Georgia State's record or box score isn't the best, but I like watching them play. They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah, no, they've put some really good performances together. Just hasn't been lately, and we'll see if they can turn it back on at home against the Dukes there in that one. Like you said, South Alabama versus Troy, maybe a little bit of an underrated matchup. Neither team playing a lot of games here recently, both missing one because of the weather aspect. So they've both just played 2 games over the last week or so. But yeah, this one is another one that, like you said, probably just under, for me personally, underneath that Texas State Red Wolves matchup. But you got to love the rivalry aspect of that one too, right?
Yeah, should be a fun one. Yeah, two teams that maybe not the biggest rivalry, but still a rivalry. And yeah, 2 really good teams.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, gonna have to get your expertise on this one. Coastal, ODU, either team coming in hot. Both lost their last 3. Coastal's lost their last 5. What do you expect in this one up there in Norfolk this weekend?
I mean,
Pain.
It's not gonna be a fun one to watch for like a neutral, but I mean, obviously for me, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, hopefully Coastal wins, but yeah, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I hope it should be a solid game. I think Coastal. I know their last game was a blowout, but especially in that first half, I thought they looked solid, and then the 2 games before that against Marshall and Georgia Southern, I thought they looked good. So they've looked better, even though the record hasn't shown it. And hopefully everyone's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. At least come out with the health aspect for both teams. That would be good. We don't want to see anybody going out long stretches, especially we're just really getting heated up in the season at this point. And the nightcap there, 8 Eastern, 7 Central time, pits Southern Miss up against the Cajuns of Louisiana down in the Cajun Dome down there in Lafayette. I don't know what to think about this one. I guess I'd favor the Golden Eagles. Would you take same team? Going different way?
I'd take Southern Miss. Yeah, I think Corbelo's been better recently. Harris has been maybe one of the best players in the conference, but we don't really talk about him just because the team's not that good.
Right.
And then, John Wade come back. I'll be interested to see more of him. So that, even though it's maybe not the two best teams, it should be still an interesting game for us Sunbelt fans to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of unfortunately, we got those 3 games at the beginning all at the same time. But after that, there's a little bit of a split where you can probably watch the majority of a game before the next one gets started up. So that's kind of a nice aspect.
Like 6, 7, 8. You can watch half of each of those games.
Yep. And if one's not all that close or all that good early on, you can stay on that one that's going to finish before and all that. Yeah, that's the good part about having ESPN Plus. So if you don't have that, maybe look into it now that you've got less to do outside in this cold weather, and stay inside, watch some Sunbelt hoops and stay warm. All right, Zach, I believe I grabbed your latest power rankings from week 11. Obviously, if you had to do it right this very second, it's probably already different, as we know you do these on Sunday, but looks like there's a little bit of movement. Any last notes? You don't have to run through the whole thing team by team if you don't want to, but anything you want to mention about the movement from when they last were appearing here on the power rankings that you do?
No, it looks pretty similar to the standings in general.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Maybe there's some teams like maybe you can rank Coastal Carolina below Louisiana just because their conference records, but or you can rank, heck, maybe you can still rank Arkansas State ahead of South Alabama or something like that. But for the most part, it's solid.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I didn't even think about that. But it is kind of funny that it's a lot more similar to the actual standings. And I don't think it's been that way. This is kind of that first time that I've really noticed it. What's funny is you did these before the standings got to that.
Yeah. In the non-conference, it was really different.
True.
But that's also because, I started it in the preseason. So, it's taking, preseason expectations or projections and then moving by each week by week. So maybe that's why ODU, maybe they're higher in the actual standings, but maybe they're ranked a little lower just because they had a tough non-conference. I didn't really expect much of them in the preseason either as well, but it slowly worked its way closer to how the records actually turned out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I think that was really the last note that we really had, and we had a great show. First guest of the season, so that was awesome. And like I said, Zach's working on some stuff in the background, and we'll try and get some more guests on for the future. I'll still work on my side as well and see if we can try and keep looping people in as the weeks go by, especially as we get closer to tournament time. We're going to want some other thoughts and feelings on what's going on the Sunbelt hoops scene. Zach, any last notes before we leave the fine people?
Nope. There's a lot of games tomorrow, games Monday, games Thursday. So a lot of Sunbelt, more than usual. Just
more
because
than usual
of the delays. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't touch on anything further than Saturday since it's still right around the corner. But yeah, definitely be sure to check out those 2 games on Monday. And until then, we will see you guys next time.
Sunbelt Syndicate.